Welcome to The Logic of Generosity, the podcast for bold nonprofit leaders who refuse to settle for ordinary. Here, we cut through the noise with unfiltered insights from fundraising experts designed to spark bigger gifts, deeper donor connections, and a brighter future for your mission. Let's dive in.
Well, this episode is brought to you by Pleiades Nonprofit Advisors, and we now offer database services from a certified Blackbaud Razor's Edge, NXT, and Network Plus database administrator. Less friction means more mission. When your data's a mess, your message misses. When it flows clearly, your mission gains momentum. At Pleiades, we design clarity. We bring order to chaos so that your team can focus on what matters. Identifying interested donors, building meaningful donor relationships, and moving faster with confidence. Relevance begins with clean data, the right message, right person, right time, but that only happens when your data is accurate, useful, and accessible. Our three essentials are data cleanup, clear vision, that's going to be the result. No more duplicates, no more undeliverables, no more wasted time. We'll standardize names, emails, and addresses so that your outreach works the first time, every time. We also offer CRM migration and setup, which allows for a smooth, thoughtful transition. Switching systems should not feel like skydiving without a parachute. We precisely carry your donor history, we validate every field, and we're going to map everything carefully so nothing is lost and nothing breaks along the way. The third thing we offer is staff training, empowered people, smarter decisions. It's not enough to have a better tool. Your people need to know how to use it. We train your team, we customize your protocols, and we build their confidence to own the system from day one. We also offer other items like custom reporting, ongoing CRM support, and workflow design. But finally, you've got a system that works. No more chasing reports, no more apologies for messy data, just a clean, functional, mission-aligned CRM environment designed to help your people do their best work. Because when data works, your mission moves. Good morning, Erin Jones from University of San Diego. I'm so glad that you're able to be joining me today and just kind of hanging out with this time together, because it's so good to not only just see you, because I think we've gone back from, I think the first time we met was maybe in 2017 or 2018.
Probably.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I love talking everything fundraising, everything plan giving. So I'm looking forward to this.
Well, likewise. Now, the big question of the day is we have been talking back and forth and from what I can tell, you have actually gotten quite a following on Facebook for your power plate that you are showing off and having your dog use and putting children on it. And so tell me, what is that all about?
Okay, so Andy told me about this thing called a vibration power plate, and you stand on it and it shakes you. And what it does is it's good for lymphatic drainage, but it's like a pre-warm up or a cool down, and it just shakes you. And it has been, let's just say, it's earned its price in entertainment value alone when I have my Sunday night dinner parties.
It's life-changing, isn't it?
I have my 18-month-old niece on it with her little chubby cheek shaking. I mean, seriously, it's been fun. My sister-in-law was on it. She goes, I need one of these. So yes, I'm having fun with my new toy.
I love it. So when we were, I got into pickleball, and I got to tell you, I've had more injuries since playing pickleball than I'd ever had. Maybe because, it's like the older you get, the younger or the better you were at a long time ago. Yeah. And then you realize as you get back into something how absolutely, crushing it is to realize that, oh my gosh, I am out of shape, or I've got issues, and my shoulder froze up. So literally I started playing fairly routinely and my shoulder froze up for a good, I stopped playing altogether for almost a year. Wow. And then from there, having that shake plate and starting to do physical therapy on top of it made it to where I could actually play again. And so just the mobility that comes from using it, it's been super helpful.
Yeah,
So
I think it's great. And what it is, it's working on what I call functional fitness. Like I'm not going to run a marathon at this point in my life, but I want to be able to do all the other stuff I need to do to live a happy life. I
right.
want to be strong, get out of a beach chair,
Yeah, no
stuff like
kidding. Yeah,
that.
it's just now we're thinking longevity, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just a different mindset than what it used to be. So as we get together today, and I just was reminded that we have a seminar that we're doing and that you're hosting, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to host it at University of San Diego on March 5th, and it's I just feel like I need to mention it to folks if they're going to be listening in that if for those who are looking to revitalize their plan giving program, or if they're looking to start it, or if they're really looking to take it to the next level, then this is going to be a 3 session day, and then we're going to do an advisor happy hour so nonprofits can begin to make those connections with the professional advisors that are so critical in our space. I mean, let me just ask you on that front, because you probably work with professional advisors fairly routinely, and you probably have a quiver of those professional advisors that you routinely go to. Can you share maybe just on that front as we get started? Because I just feel like it's so important to understand that value of having that relationship.
Again, as any office is, we're not here to give people personal advice. We're here to educate them and to teach them how these tools work and can benefit them. So they need their team of advisors to implement the plan. Working for a university, I'm fortunate where I have lawyers I work with who are alumni, CPAs, financial planners, you name it. So I have a pretty good group of people. Now, I always tell people this at the university, we can't refer anybody, but what I can say is these are three attorneys, these are three CPAs who have good reputations. They went to our university for you to interview on your own. You
Yeah.
always want to be careful about that and also specify if they're a board member or a committee member. You always want full disclosure. But these people are the experts in their field. I'm the expert in my field. We all have our different talents, so we need to work together so we can do the best for the donor and make
Yeah.
sure that donor is doing the thing that's right for them first and foremost, even before the charity.
So, in many cases, I will hear fundraisers, they're well meaning in this, but they'll just say, I really don't know much about it, but just talk to your advisor. Is there any sort of concern that might come with somebody just going to talk with their own advisor about something they don't really know about?
Yes, that absolutely, because they need to understand the concept themselves, because you should never do something that you don't completely understand. So the first step is education. Then what I want to do, let me go with you to your financial planner, and we can talk about what your vision is, what impact you want to have, so you can decide the best way to make that gift. But if I'm at the table too, I'm going to keep the conversation focused on benefiting the university, obviously. I also want a good relationship with this advisor because you never know, I might need them down the road as well. So, plus, if they're an alumnus, they're also a donor prospect as well. So, you just want to be professional, just letting your donor know that I'm here for you. I'm your concierge. I'm going to walk you through this process so you can feel good at the end of the day. Plus, I'll say it, I have met advisors who are not familiar with the plan giving estate planning process, as I feel they should be. And what happens is sometimes they'll steer a client away because they themselves don't understand it. So, you know what? Why don't you cultivate your financial advisors too, your attorneys, take them out to lunch, buy them lunch and say, hey, I want to talk to you about this new IRA rollover thing. And you may be inadvertently educating them as well, or at least bringing them more up to speed and like an IRA rollover. That's a great example. This is the number one plan gift I'm seeing right now. They
Hmm.
are off the charts. And if an advisor isn't advising his clients that this is a good asset to give away, they probably need a new advisor. Um, but it's about understanding them, their role, understanding your role, but try to stay in the process, try to stay in the dance the whole time.
Yeah, I love the fact that you want to accompany your donors to go talk with their professional advisors. I love the fact, and you mentioned you use the word concierge, and I think that that's a really important description of a gift planning officer because you do a fair amount of handholding, which is the very nature of what concierge service is, at least in my mind, and providing that individual donor who is maybe sharing an interest based upon the information that you shared about, maybe you're planting a seed. Let's say in particular you talk about the qualified charitable distribution from an IRA rollover type of gift that helps a donor better understand that they're giving, in this particular instance, from a never been taxed asset to be able to give to the university and even satisfy their RMDs that way if they want to. That said, I just think it's really cool that you are engaging the professional advisor right along with them. I don't know too many gift officers that are actually doing that.
Well, you also have to be invited to the table.
Probably,
So
yes.
I'm not at the table as much as I'd like to be, but when you're there, it really is an honor, and that means that donor trusts you. You're part of the
Right.
inner circle, and that's where we all want to be when given the opportunity. You mentioned the word, or I mentioned the word, a concierge. So I tell all my donors, including anyone who's put us in their, will trust, part of our legacy society. I say, consider this office. We are your concierge on campus. If you need anything, it doesn't have to be related to giving. Call my office first. Let us figure it out for you. Okay, I'm going to be honest. If they call the ticket office, they could probably get tickets just as easily as I can for them. But they don't know that.
Right.
It's just why not let it gives you another touch point.
Mhm.
You're building trust with your donor. Wow, Erin always follows through. One of my favorites recently was one of my donors got a parking citation on campus. And she emailed me and said, here's the number. Could you take care? Very, very consistent donor. So I called parking services. Turns out they didn't get a citation. They just got a warning. So
Oh.
I called her up. I said, absolutely. I took care of
It's all taken care of.
it. I'll do that for you.
That is
So
so fun.
anyway, it's just a way to show that you're always going to go out of your way for them.
Going back to your connection with professional advisors, vendors such as, say, Crescendo or maybe PG Calc, they're going to offer gift illustrations that are going to help do the very specifics of every giving vehicle that is probably going to be used in our space. And in many cases, those gift illustrations are able to break down a lot of the calculations, especially when it gets to the details of like a charitable gift annuity or something like that, when it just talks about, what's the life expectancy and then what happens after, what happens before, and how it's all broken down in terms of money that's coming back to you versus the taxes that are going to come along with it versus maybe the taxes that come after your life expectancy is met. But providing that to a financial advisor or an estate planning attorney, is that something that you would take with you along with maybe your donor, or give to your donor to give to the advisor?
Absolutely. What I like to do, and it's interesting because in the 90s, the allied professionals, the professional advisors, they didn't have the software. The charities had the software.
Yeah.
So they would call us to do illustrations for their clients. And I was always happy to do it, even if it wasn't our charity. It's just helping out the philanthropy in general. But nowadays they all have their software. So we missed a little bit of an opportunity with that, but absolutely run the numbers. Their CPA is going to say, well, they're in this tax bracket, and that's you can get really the exact numbers the donor's going to need
Yeah.
when they do their taxes and so forth. So yes, I would always provide that. Typically, if it's a non-engineer donor, I give them the simple proposal.
Right,
They
right,
want to
right,
know the
right.
concept, the income,
Just
what's
tell
going to
me the
be
tax,
given.
tell me the
There
income.
you go. Whereas, if I'm with an engineer, they want to see 18 pages of details. So that's another thing where you really need to read your donor, because sometimes if you give them too much, it's so overwhelming. They're just going to go, whoa, I don't want to do this.
Right.
So you got to read where they are and the information they want and start slow. And if they want more detail, oh, I can do that too. Or the advisor wants the detail,
Mhm.
but the donor needs like the more simple
Right.
version.
No, that's really sensible advice. I like that. And I'm now bragging on Crescendo because they've got their more full outlined
Hmm.
presentation that they do. That's really designed for the professional advisors,
Hmm.
where, like you say, a lot of donors are just pretty happy with a real simple, uh, give me a sense of compelling vision, but also share with me the basics that I need to take away from this giving vehicle. And so they got one of those types of presentations too. So
Hmm.
it's kind of helpful. I remember playing pickleball and with a CPA, and he and I started just talking shop, and I learned a little bit more about what he was doing, and I just asked him, I go, I'm just very curious. Do you ever get into the charitable tax law space and encourage charitable giving on that respect for tax benefits? And he goes, no, no, I never do that. And I just thought, really? You don't ever do that? And he goes, no, I
That's
don't really.
planning.
I don't really advise my donor. And I go, what, or my clients? And I said, well, what if they want to? What if that's something, that's a really important thing for them, is to actually feel like they're partnering with an organization that means a lot to them, that they want to actually benefit and then benefit themselves. And he didn't really have much to say about that. So I know that on the Crescendo side, back, when working with Crescendo, I know a good percentage. I don't know what the percentage is off the top of my head, but we trained a lot of professional advisors in this space just because it wasn't familiar to them.
Hmm.
And I've talked with so many folks that over the years as well, and just asked them, I go, how familiar with it? Let's say a charitable remainder trust. How familiar are you with them? Oh, I know what they are. Oh, have you ever done one? No. You ever
Hmm.
suggested one? No. And it's like,
Hmm.
did you know they're an option? Yeah. And that's about the extent. And so it's like, oh man, there's really an opportunity maybe lost when we say goodbye to a donor to go just talk it up with their donors. And kind of doing full circle with that basic idea, I just feel like it's super important to make sure that, especially whatever and whoever it is that we're engaging people with, that they are comfortable in that space of philanthropy, because otherwise I just feel like it's opportunity lost. Am I missing something here?
No, I think you're summing it up. I belong to estate planning council and other type of professional organizations, and the allied professionals who are involved know the space
Yeah.
because they're into it.
Yeah.
Not everybody is. But, I keep referring back to this IRA thing where, it's ironic. You put this money away to use down the road, and what a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need it.
Right.
You know, this is a brilliant planning tool. I mean, I love to show donors the example where you've got, a $250,000 IRA. You got a house for $250,000. Okay, not in California. I'm just keeping these round numbers. You got
Sure.
another 250, you got another 250. You got $1 million right there. You've got four kids. But you consider the university as almost part of your family. So you're going to divide your estate up between five. Most people say, fine, five equally. No, give the IRA to the charity
Yeah.
because your kids are going to have to pay tax on it. This is
That's right.
good estate planning.
Yeah.
And the fact that someone who specializes in estate planning is not savvy on these techniques for their wealthy client drives me bonkers.
I hear you. And so
Right.
it's in those instances, especially if they're giving maybe distribution gifts routinely, boy, that really sets up an opportunity to talk about what they're going to do when they're finished using that IRA and where to allocate that, just for the very reasons that you give. Do you
I'm
find
going
that that opens the door to those types of conversations?
Absolutely. Actually, this week I learned that one of my dear donors who I've known for 8 years has passed on. And, that's the sad part about this job is
It
I
is.
built strong relationships with these people and they leave. But she was giving us from her IRA $50,000 a year. And now that she's passed, we learn we're the beneficiary of the IRA. What I love to talk to people about is if they're giving regularly, we need that support. And when they're no longer on this earth, that is no excuse not to give.
Yeah,
So let's
that's right.
talk about endowing your annual gift.
I love the way you put that.
Endowing your annual gift.
Yeah.
So if you're giving 10 grand a year, $500,000, there you go.
You being at a university puts you in a pretty unique position, especially when talking about maybe, let's say, an individual's maybe giving for scholarship reasons or whatever. I'm sure there's like all sorts of different things that you could put that together. Do you find that the perpetuity or sharing that the idea of continuing that scholarship above and beyond after your time here is a fairly easy thing to propose?
I think it's a natural progression. If you're doing something that's working, why would you stop? If you're investing in certain stocks and they're going up, why would you stop? You're investing in the institution, why would you stop?
Yeah.
Don't you want your name on campus forever? I mean, I say $50,000 scholarship is going to spin off $2,000 a year. If the fund earns 10%, that 6% is going to go back in. Next year, you've got a higher number of 4%. That gift will grow over time. What I tell people is we want your legacy on campus in perpetuity.
Mhm.
Forever, we will have the Jean M. Mallets Endowed Scholarship. Her kids can meet the awardees, grandkids. We can make this as big as you want. But when we're not here anymore, what do people worry about? Not being remembered.
Yeah.
That's a pretty strong way to be remembered, to have an endowed scholarship in your name, whether it's for scholarships or whatever purpose. You have told your family, your friends, and the community what you've told them right there by setting up that bequest is what you value. And here it means you valued education. Maybe you valued Catholic education. Maybe you're giving to the zoo. You value wildlife and research. When you give a gift as a legacy gift, you're telling the world who you are. So think clearly about it and be recognized because others will follow by your example.
Have you always been that persuasive? Is this just like who you are? I'm just curious. I want to start giving to USD. Um, that's very good. I want to ask a little bit about the dynamics that I would imagine that a lot of universities have experienced. We've been working with some universities on our end as well, and we're seeing that that there were some things that in these particular instances, and I'm not going to name names, but there was an aspect of mission creep is maybe the best way that I can kind of share what maybe some of the older donors were alums of the university from way back when feel like things have perhaps changed in a direction that they're kind of I don't maybe not comfortable with, and we've seen this as well, and so I'm really curious about those older donors. And of course, a lot of our space engages with those older donors because they're the ones who are far more aware, especially those who are retirees. They're far more into our space than just about anybody else.
So I'm curious to see what some of the ways that you've overcome or had to overcome, perhaps the optics of some of the things that have changed with that within the University of San Diego and from those who had graduated maybe 20, 30, 50 years ago. Can you share a little bit about that?
There's a reason I'm grinning. You just hit like the 50,000 or the $1 million question at USD. Again, we were founded as a private Catholic university. We started with the San Diego College for Women, run by nuns, the College for Men. They merged in 72. If I hear this once, I hear it almost every day. You're not as Catholic as you used to be. Um, it's interesting. The older donors definitely feel that way. And I say, so USD was the best when you were there? And they go, yeah. I go, because I talked to someone from the class of 85 and they said it was the best when they were there. It's always the best when you were there.
That's
Remember
because
that
you were there, right?
because you were there. Exactly. And if anyone doesn't want to give, they can always come up with an excuse not to give.
Sure.
And what I love to tell them about this when I get into this space is, you know why? You're let's say the guy's name is Bill. I go, Bill, you seem upset. He goes, I'm upset. And I go, why? And he explains. And I said, we are still a Catholic institution. We may not do things the way we did it back then exactly, but we still have two masses on campus every day. We still have to take theology courses every year, same as Notre Dame. Um, so there's always going to be excuse if they want it. But the bottom line, Bill, you know why you're upset? Because you love USD. That's the bottom line. You love this institution. So look at it maybe with today's eyes. The tradition's still there. You may have to dig a little bit deeper, but it's still there. And then, it's interesting. I went and spoke with our VP of campus ministry, and he came to a meeting and he gave us like a cheat sheet with bullet points, really how to address these questions. And I have it on my desk, literally. I usually keep it under my computer. And sometimes when I'm on the phone or I'm on hold, I'll just read through them again. Just because we're not like this is what I tell people. I'm a Catholic personally. I may not be the same Catholic as you are. You may like going to the Latin Mass. I like going to the English Mass. You may be into adoration. I may be into helping the homeless. There are so many aspects. So you need to reach on to that donor. Like, what are their aspects that are important? What can be changed? What can't be changed? And help them to see where the differences are and to realize we're a lot closer than you think. You're just hearing the negative things
Yeah.
where you're not also hearing the good things about what we're doing.
Are you able to speak to maybe a couple of, for instances, that maybe an older donor came in with and just voiced their objection? I want to be sensitive here, just because I know that.
Yes, no, I absolutely have had that.
Okay.
I had another woman got a parking citation. And she just was like, back in my day, we could park anywhere. And, this is ridiculous. And it's not the warm university it used to be. And I had to explain to her, I go, when you were here, there were 200 students on
Right.
campus.
How many students were here?
Now there are 9,000. When you were there were 50 administrators. Now there's 500 between professors and so forth. It would not be safe for you or anyone else to have people just parking wherever they're. We have to evolve. Some things have to take place. That doesn't mean it's not a nice place anymore. If anything, it means it's nicer because we're looking out to make sure everyone's safe. But again, the bottom line is if a donor brings these issues up with you, listen. They want to be heard. Are you going to change their mind all the time? Of course not. But you might. Just listen to them, listen to their concerns. They want to be healed. They want to feel better. They want to feel listened to. And then take out what you hear from that conversation and put it back on them in a polite way. I see how important this is to you. It really shows in your sincerity and what you've done for this institution. What you're giving back is helping so many students. So try to steer it away from the negative side. Focus on the positive, but listen to them. And again, at the end of the day, if they say, well, I'm just not going to give anymore because of that, you say, well, I appreciate you bring it to my attention. I hope you'll change your mind. We'd love to have you back. And, God bless you.
Okay, I like it, and I like the change of just focusing away from maybe the issue that they brought up to help them see. It's like, look, I've got to say, it's a very lovely campus for a lot of reasons. Incidentally, I think didn't you guys get voted like the most beautiful campus in the country?
Yeah, that happens a lot with print. It's because I work here.
Is that right? Is that right? Well, congratulations on that. So I am curious, especially as being a university, that you probably have a number of subgroups that you're routinely reaching out to. And I'm just off the cuff. I'm imagining alumni association and working with the alums, with maybe staff and faculty and working with them. And I think you had told me that you have a lifelong learner set up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I do, I try to reach out to all constituencies, I mean, as much as I can. Just some background for the audience is we are a young university. We only hit our 75th anniversary, and those early classes maybe had 180 people. So we had to be very creative with plan giving because our donors weren't old enough and there weren't a lot of them. So yes, I work closely with alumni. I work closely with, I have my Puente de Oro Society, which is our legacy society. I work with them. There's another group that's housed on campus, although they're a separate 501c3, the Alumni of the Sacred Heart. These are women 70 and
Hmm.
above who went to the women's college from 1949 to 72. They
Okay.
are the perfect plan giving age.
Yeah.
I go to their board meetings. They have a chapter in Phoenix I'm going to this weekend. They are prom. They've been here on campus for 50 years. This was part of their life. I mean, their upbringing. And that's when literally they'd have to like say goodnight to Mother Rosalie Hill before they went to bed. She'd be measuring the skirts, making sure they were long enough and so forth. Um, Again, the allied professionals, that's another audience.
Mhm.
We have a continuing learning program for 55 and above, and the sole purpose was to get older people who were smart, ideally successful on campus to fall in love with the university. And by God, Andy, it worked.
Well,
We've
let
had
me ask you
million
on that
dollar
front.
donors.
I'm just curious because to that end, this is an entirely different group than those who attended the university or who have been a
Exactly.
part of it.
It's attended by people, the public, 55 and older. Certainly, we have a certain percentage who are alumni, but I would say it's probably 60 non-alum to 40% alumni. So I've got a multi-million dollar donor who didn't even attend here. He learned about the university because of the Bridges Academy. So that's where we're bringing people on to say, "Hey, come after the lunch, after the lecture. Hey, you go every week. You really like this. Hey, let's go to lunch." And I start talking to him about all the things we do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it resonates and sometimes it doesn't, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
And to these individuals, first of all, how many folks would you say are kind of in that group of the
We
Bridges
get
Academy
about 60 people
per
four
session?
times a year. Yeah.
Okay. 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 How do you reach out and how did you find them?
Well, first we went through the database. We took everyone 55 and older, San Diego County, and now we're going strictly by email. We're not doing a postcard as we had done in the past, which saves me about five that maybe more like $8,000 a year, which is great. Um, we all the retirement communities around here, we get in touch with their social directors. What's great is they typically have a bus and they'll put 10 on it.
I
And
love
last time they showed up, I took them for a quick tour, then we had lunch in the cafeteria.
love that.
They loved it.
Yeah.
So we reach out to those people. We put an ad once in the Southern Cross, which is our diocesan newspaper. We didn't get a lot from that, but what I got was a parish secretary who does it for four different Catholic parishes. She put it in the bulletin. I always have the thing on my phone. I like run into people randomly. I'm like, hey, you seem old enough. Okay, this is funny. I went on a tour of Amazon last week, a fulfillment center. It was fascinating. It is the equivalent of 58 football fields
Wow.
and robots and 30 miles of conveyor belts. But when I was there were like four or five people. I said they'd be perfect for my Bridges Academy. So I said, where do you live? They told me. I said, do you want to go to this? Emailed them, and next day, like four of them responded they're coming. So
Wow.
I mean, I hold no prisoners, you know. I just like I'll tell people I meet in Target some days
Right.
because you never know where that connection is going to come. And very likely they might be an alumnus or their kid is.
Yeah. And I'm curious, is this something you started?
No, no, this was started years back to get people on campus to fall in love with the university. We have a lot of retired professors that come. No, I can't take credit for that. Um, but it's cheap. It doesn't really cost anything. The room's free. I get a professor to speak. We usually throw him a $50 gift card to thank him or her, sorry. And then refreshments, I don't even go through catering. They're too expensive. We like get coffee delivered and we bring donuts and stuff like that, and then they mingle. So it costs me nothing. And then I love doing this. There's this one couple that comes every time, and they always talk to the professor for at least 20 minutes afterwards. And I say, I got a stopwatch. If you talk to him for one more minute, I'm going to charge you tuition. But again, they love coming and it just opens the door. They understand my personality. I don't go for the jugular, but I'm not shy. I will ask the question. I will say, you've been giving for 35 years. You fit the profile. You seem like somebody who probably has put us in their estate plan or who might consider it. Can I take you to lunch and share with you how other alumni, parents, and friends are leaving their legacy on campus just to see if something resonates? No obligation. And they're saying yes.
Wow. So you're pretty
Now,
direct with them that way.
I'm very direct.
Okay.
Because I just think, why dance around it? And I say, first and foremost, I want to meet with you because I want to know your background. Like, why are you so good to us? I just want to thank you. And then I'm going to ask you another question. People who give like you often have us in their estate plan. Is it something you've done or is it something you consider?
Okay.
And I'm not saying you have to disinherit your kids, you know,
Right, right,
there's
right,
enough to
right.
go around. And then I go into the IRA. Your kids are going to have to pay taxes anyway. But ideally, you meet people without kids. And I will tell you, this lecture series, there's a lot of people who didn't have children. And especially with universities, I've known this during my career or observed this, that college professors often are single. They're often married to another academic. They're often childless or they had one child.
Hmm.
That's just something I've observed in my career.
Yeah.
Um, so, obviously those people have more disposable income.
There's a couple of folks that I have shared the lifelong learning concept to, and I know that there's even some community colleges that do a really good job of
Mhm.
it. And I'm curious, in those lifelong learning experiences, I suspect that, like you had mentioned, that most of the attendees are older. Most of them are probably retired. Is that fair? So
Absolutely.
they kind of fit our space very well just by the very fact of their age
Plus,
and station of life.
the lectures are at 10 a.m. on, Mondays or Fridays. So
Okay.
typically a working person wouldn't be able to attend. But that's exactly who we're looking for. Um, and they love it. They're like, can I invite a friend? And we don't charge anything for
Okay.
it. But what we do is we have the Bridges Academy, that's what it's called, endowed scholarship that helps first generation students. Currently, we have an endowment of about $450,000. It awards four approximately $5 scholarships a year. Uh, people, I have a donor who attends every session. She gives us her full IRA to the Bridges Scholarship. I
Okay.
have people putting the Bridges Scholarship in their estate plan. The lecture's free, but you better believe every seat has an envelope
Yeah,
that says give to this.
that's right.
Every seat has one. When they register, it says right there. So this semester, I think we've collected just from registration gifts about $4,000 towards the scholarship. Then we invite the scholarship recipients to attend Bridges just to thank them and tell their story.
That's smart.
And you see where, this is where I get to know, because I see him four times a semester, 8 times a year.
Okay.
They're part of our family.
Yeah. And the sessions themselves is there like any particular type of educational session that you're aiming to cover?
This is what we do. So we have 4 lectures a semester. I try to a variety of topics. One may be on something not even fun, like AI. We're
Okay.
having one Friday on artificial intelligence. I have like 80 people signed up to come.
I believe it.
They are this just see people. This generation is hungry for AI. Anytime you can educate them, they want to learn. Then we're having one on like the history of San Diego from the Revolutionary War, Civil War, and beyond.
Okay.
How about one about travel, food, or culture? I had a retired law professor who has a houseboat and spends 4 months every summer in the south of France. He did a lecture on that. And of course, okay, that one we served wine after. We didn't just serve
Yeah,
coffee.
right. You better.
So we try to do just a variety of
Okay.
topics. So one
Okay.
might be technical, one might be medical. Oh, how to eat as a senior citizen, da da da. One might be on neurodiversity. So we just 4 random and I ask the audience, what do you want to see? And believe it or not, I'm planning a field trip with this group to go to the Amazon Fulfillment Center. That's
Okay.
free too.
I love it. So when do you ever cover anything, let's say in our space at all? Or
Yes,
have like
yes,
a financial advisor come in and
yes.
share
We
about,
do that probably every other year.
okay.
We have a session where, estate planning 101. Oh, how does the beautiful tax bill, the OBBBA affect you? I
Okay.
mean, those are our least attended because they're less educational.
Right, right.
So I try to tie it in, or maybe I'll do an extra one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
and
good to hear because it's
we
not
have a
necessarily
woman.
the interest, but yes,
Yeah,
but they need to
we
know.
have a donor, not an alumnus, who came to us by way of a financial planning program in the 90s, and now she's giving us $400,000 in her estate plan.
Wow. Isn't it fascinating just
That's
how
how she knows
these
about
all
it,
these
from
folks
attending
come from?
bridges. Hmm.
That's really fascinating. Like I said, I just love the fact that you have that lifelong learning program. I just think that so many organizations out there would benefit from something of that nature. And being a higher ed institution, it's just like fits like a glove. I am curious, kind of shifting gears into a lot of the organizations that we work with, especially if they're like hospitals or higher ed, there's a lot of staff faculty connection that takes place. And simply because, I mean, you're a student there, you're going to be there for 4 years or maybe a little bit longer or whatever, but, and hopefully continue to connect because you had such a fulfilling experience as a student. But your professors there, especially those who had been for a long, long time, there's probably nobody there who's more vested in the university than they are.
They are your number one prospects. And if you are not working with your retired faculty, your faculty emeriti, I always
Emeritus, yes, yes,
emeritus, that's it.
yes.
You're missing a huge opportunity. And I think that is one of the easiest asks. I mean, you're basically saying, this was your life. I mean, professors, this is their passion. It's not just like, oh, I work here, I'm done. It is their life. Their research is in it, their blood, sweat, and tears. Again, they typically didn't have large families. This is their identity.
Yeah.
why wouldn't they make it part of their legacy? And especially with, well, here in particular, and the privates especially, um, we get a nice pension. They fund a 401(k) plan for us at 10% of our salary. Don't even have to put in a dime.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
nice.
not only did the university like give you a great career, did the university help you to grow your passion in your chosen field that's affecting, thousands of students over time. Now you got an opportunity to endow your life work. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And you've gotten the extra money from us in your retirement plan.
Yeah. So when you connect with your faculty or your emeritus faculty folks as well, because I would imagine there's still a real kind of a tight niche that they continue to stay involved in some way, shape, or form, I suspect. I am curious about how it is that you approach them. How do they find out, who's Erin Jones and what is your role and how do they begin to make that connection with you?
Well, first and foremost, a lot of the connections I'm making are really driven by me. So, I look at the daily gift report every day. I'm looking for that person who, is class of 70 or older. It's not 70, 80. How many gifts have they given, etc. And then when I see they're a professor, I said, okay, well, the first, are they assigned to anybody? And make sure one of my colleagues isn't already working with them. And if so, I'd obviously contact my colleague first to say, this is an excellent plan giving prospect. Can we meet together with this person? Could I meet with them by my own? It's better if the development officer comes. So I'm doing a lot in that area. Um, I also think you have to be comfortable reaching out to them. Yes, I can send out a million newsletters. I can send out emails and so forth, but you've really got to put the time in to make the calls and send the emails. And it's sales rule 10-3-1. 10 calls is going to get you 3 appointments. It's going to give you 1 gift. And if you consistently look at that formula, you're going to be successful.
I love that because you're absolutely right. This is really just comes down to a numbers game and being consistent and persistent in the approach that you take with particular, all these different groups.
Okay,
That's really,
we use concierge earlier. I say the same thing to the faculty. It's like, let this office is the estate planning resource on campus. If you need any help with your own estate planning, come talk to us. I can point you in the right direction, tell you what you're going to need to do. I can't give you advice. So I can help you put your team together. Let us be part of that for you. How about this? Are you a trustee? You don't know what to do? Your neighbor died, but he liked you, so now you're a trustee. That's a job.
yeah.
That's a job that requires a lot of skill. So come in and I'll teach you the steps you're going to need to take so it goes as smoothly as possible. And I love telling them this. And guess what? I'm free to talk to. Your attorney's not.
Oh, I love that. And I also love what you had mentioned just a couple of minutes ago about working with your team members, other frontline fundraisers. I'm curious, how many frontline fundraisers does USD have?
We probably have 10.
Okay. So of the 10, and they're probably all assigned some sort of portfolio that they're working with and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love the fact that you are taking the initiative to connect with them on a particular donor, and that's something that you kind of move towards too by giving them a nudge or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there?
Andy, you need to do this.
Yeah.
People need to do this because the development directors, they're wearing a bunch of hats.
Hmm.
How it's positioned here is there's a director of development at each of the colleges, but there's one plan giving person. So they're supposed to bring me into meetings when anything comes up. But you know what? Like most DODs, they're afraid of plan giving.
Hmm.
They don't want to bring it up because they don't know
Because
all
they
the
don't feel
details.
comfortable. What are
And
you
I
doing to
tell
help
them,
them become more conversant at it? I mean, is there any sort of education that
bringing
you
them
have them?
on appointments. I
Okay.
said, take me on an appointment. This is great because you know your college better than I ever will. but I know plan giving. I'm going to learn more about the work you're doing in your college, and you're going to learn how to talk to a donor about plan giving. You don't need to know the details, you just need to know the flow chart.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks from now, I'm doing a lunch and learn. I invited the whole division. I mean, it didn't matter if you're a creative director, alumni director, or marketing person. Come bring your lunch for an hour and a half. I'm going to break it down. We're going to go through all the gift instruments, and my goal is to make it understandable. And unfortunately, in this space, I think sometimes people try to overcomplicate it. CGA, CRT, Flipcrut, NIMCRUP, Lee Trust. And people it's just too much. And when you don't know something, you don't do anything.
Yeah.
I teach them how to bring it up. I teach them things like you're talking to your donor and he can't meet because since his mom died, they inherited the property and now as they're renters and it's just becoming such a nightmare. All you have to say this is, okay, well, good luck with that. We can meet when you get back, but you know what? I work with this woman, Erin Jones, and we had a donor kind of donate a piece of property. Sounds similar to your situation, but then they got income. I don't really understand the details. Could I just set up an appointment so she can tell you about this? This might be a solution for a problem and you don't know about it. Why
I
not?
love that. I love that. And here's what I'm also hearing, and I don't necessarily hear this everywhere. So I just felt like I needed to kind of put that out there. But the thing that I'm hearing is that there's a really strong connection between you and the other frontline fundraisers, I suspect in relationship, as well as you're just chatting about maybe common donors. What I've seen at some organizations is this kind of territorial thing, and that's not necessarily done on purpose. It's just kind of done maybe just the way that things are structured in those organizations, or perhaps not structured. And as a result, everybody's kind of being held to, their own quotas that they're going to try to uphold. And so they begin kind of fearing, the other officer who's kind of coming in, and it's like, well, you're kind of getting in my space, and it's really just kind of becomes a sort of myopic view that they
Mhm.
take, it doesn't sound like that's your experience there. What have you done to overcome that?
Well, I mean, I think I have experienced that over my career, and that's a very good point to bring up. You know how you cultivate your donors? You should be cultivating your colleagues as well. You should be sending them birthday cards. You should have lunch with them every once in a while, just casually. You need to build trust. It's been proven time and time again if someone's going to do a plan gift, it's not going to prevent them from doing a major gift. We understand that as plan giving officers. Development directors still see the fear. So that's where you build trust, and you're not going to get along with everybody. So the three universities I've worked with, I try to befriend one or two as quickly as possible who understand the big picture, who will trust me. Then we go out, we start closing gifts together. Suddenly the other development director from arts and sciences is like, well, how come Nancy's raising so much money in arts and letters? Well, have you brought Erin on any visits? And I'm not saying it's about me. It's not. It's about bringing the conversation up. And once my development director sees that I don't go for the jugular, I'm polite. The donor is engaging with me. It becomes a really fun dance. And then, I mean, this woman I work with, Nancy, like she'd pick up the phone and say, Erin, I'm going to the Bay Area the third week in April, and I have 12 visits, and I think 6 of them could be estate planning. Go, give me your flight information. Booked. Get on the road with them.
Yeah.
It's a great way to nurture and then that colleague may be closer with another colleague that you kind of hadn't gotten through to. And then they're like, oh, you got to take Erin out on visits or this. And we discovered this. I never even thought about asking that question. And you decide who the best person is to talk to the donor. And again, I got a lot of tricks. Like one I love is if I want to get together with a donor, and their DOD, I say this. Say, you're having lunch with them anyway next week. Say, you know what? I can't wait to see you next Tuesday for lunch, but I have an appointment with my plan giving person after ours. Can I just bring her to lunch with me? I don't have to say anything. All they say is, so, Erin, do you do the same thing as Debbie does at the law school? And I said, no, not exactly. And I describe what I do. Right there, I planted a seed.
Yeah.
I don't have to go away. Yes, I work with our generous donors, mainly those who put us in the World Estate Plan. There's ways they can give us assets during their lifetime too and receive income streams. So I work closely with my development officers to help the donors through that. And suddenly I'll see them like at a
You're,
basketball game and they'll be
you're
like, are
just
you
seeing their minds
that
think.
will person? Are you
Yeah.
the person? Because my attorney just retired and I need to redo my will. So it's that. It's just describing what you do. Every time you do that, you're planting a seed.
Yeah. Do you
Get
find yourself?
invited to
Oh,
what?
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Finish
I
that thought.
said if you're like if one college, they go, oh yeah, we're having a the board friends of the library come together for a quick meeting and then they're going to do a reception afterwards. I go, just invite me. I'm not going to be making people sign off their lives at that meeting. It's I'm meeting them.
Do you find that with perhaps some of the major gift officers that you go out with, that I mean, most people do not hold their money in a checking account. I mean, some do, I suppose, but the majority of them have that money returning interest, and so it's usually held up in at least a high yield savings account or perhaps some sort of stock market account, or and there's a lot of different places that it can be held up with. Do you find that that's an opportunity for you to connect with your major gift officers to bring in those types of conversations about where their resources are held?
Um, I mean, the simple answer is yes, but again, sometimes that's getting way too in the weeds for them with the details of how that's taxing and so forth. Um, it's just like I said, if I get invited to this library meeting, I love it. The development director's there and there are three donors there, and she introduces me. I go, oh my God, I have such great news. So my development director, I go, but I'll share it with you guys too. So there was this woman I was working with, and I described the planned gift right there,
Yeah.
and it just matured, and she's super happy. She's getting her, really, what is this all about? Oh, it's called the
Right.
gift annuity.
Okay, so you're telling stories about how maybe somebody else has done something
It's
to be
all
able.
about stories. Just
Yep.
get the statistics out.
Yep, I got it. I got it. I love that, and that's really smart. And by just providing that story, in they're like you say, they're just kind of like, oh, well, I'd not thought about that before. I didn't realize that was an option. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
I am curious. I've got kind of like we're almost actually at our hour. I don't know if you know that, but we
No,
actually
it's going to go
are.
quickly. But then again, I can talk till the cows come home. I love to say this. It's genetically impossible for me to make a long story short. Come on.
So maybe I do have a question. A lot of our donors, like we had said, they're retirees, but a lot of them, they're up there. And of course, the conversations were kind of, it's easy to kind of to turn, like some other fundraisers away because we're talking about death and taxes. That's kind of our
Hmm.
world, right? Yeah, what a great person to be around. How fun is that? Boy, Andy, just want to hang out with you more often. And so I'm curious, when you're working with older donors, I'm curious about maybe your style, your approach. What have you found that seems to work well for you? And what does that look like?
First of all, I love working with senior citizens. I mean, they remind me of my grandparents. I have an affinity for this group. I even got this certified senior advisor uh certification, just to learn. I mean, to the point like they had you wearing glasses that were fuzzy and trying to write a check with a rubber band, like really being conscientious of that age group
Yeah,
and what their limitations and challenges are.
yeah.
Um, I love thinking of personal touches. Like, what can I do? Like, if I have a portfolio of, let's say, 100 people, I want every one of those 100 people to think they're one of 10. I want them to know that I value them. So I try to be creative. And one thing I told you I love doing is if I call a donor up and let's say they're sick, we're supposed to meet and I hear Bob on the phone, he's coughing. I'm like, Bob, what's going on? He goes, oh, I got COVID or, some cold. I go, okay, well, we'll call you next week. You rest up and we'll get a new time to meet. The second I hang up that phone, I'm door dashing them Panera Bread chicken soup
Oh, how
and a loaf of
smart.
bread. I
That
mean,
is so
it
smart.
costs what, $15? And you better believe I'm getting a phone call at 5:05 when it's dropped off, going, oh my gosh, it's easy. There are
Yeah.
a lot of really easy things you can do that don't take a lot of money and don't take a lot of time. You like back in the day, I mean, I used to make my own Irish soda bread and I would drop it off at the donors on St. Patrick's Day. But then I got smart. I would order like 50 loaves from Ralph's, but I'd make sure they didn't put the label on it. I put my own so they thought it was homemade. You know, things like that. I mean, when I worked for the hospice, I had a lot of widows
Yeah.
in our legacy group. And what I do is I'd look them up. I find out the widows who had a really long giving history, and I invite them out on Valentine's Day with a guest
Oh my
to a
goodness.
restaurant, give everyone a rose, but then I'd have a speaker come in and just talk about something, and I'd buy them lunch. So it was like I had a face-to-face visit with 12 people that day.
Wow.
But now I can follow up with them again. Oh, and
Boy.
there's a little plan giving education in
Yeah.
here.
Boy, you're good, Erin. You are good. That is so encouraging and very smart. Oh my gosh. Just take that in. Sorry. Whoever's listening and watching this, just take that in. Erin, I want to say that our time is actually at a close now. And I hope this hour went by for you fairly quickly. It was fascinating. I
It's
love
adorable.
listening to gift officers share their own stories and how it is that they approach, and everybody's unique. Everybody just has a totally different flavor, and your flavor is fantastic. So I'm so grateful that you'd be willing to spend some time with me today on this. I want you to hang around for just a second. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording in just a moment, and in the meantime, thank you, Erin, and thank you everybody for listening, and we'll
Thank
be
you as well, everyone.
in touch soon. And yeah, there you go.